Hi, everyone. This is Country Music News International. And my name is Nigel Sharpe, and I have the pleasure this evening of speaking to the lovely Linda Gail Lewis, who is, I don't know where. Where are you?
I am in Wimberley, Texas.
Yeah, so Linda, of course, is the younger sister of Jerry Lee Lewis. And unsurprisingly, I would say, Linda is a mean piano player. I've seen you really beat that piano. I mean, I'm sure you hit it harder than Jerry Lee ever did. But
Well, he did accuse me of that one time because, for a few years, I opened for him
yeah,
in the second part of my career. In the first part of my career, I was traveling with my brother all the time. And then when I left his show, I then had to start my solo career.
right,
And then quite a few years went by. But then in 2008, they decided they would have me open for him and on some European gigs where the promoters were complaining about the show not being long enough. So they made it the Jerry D. Lewis and Family Show, and I would go on before him, and then he would. It made the show longer. I'd do either 30 minutes or 45 minutes,
right.
never more than 45, and but at least 30 minutes. And the audience seemed to be happy with that. And then he would play around 45 minutes because they were expecting him to do like more than an hour. And it had just gotten to the point where he'd gotten older and he couldn't be out there on stage that long. So, yeah. And then he would say to me, I think you have played that piano too hard and it's out of tune. I said, he most of the time on those tours, we had those electric pianos that he
Yeah,
loves so much, the Yamaha electric piano that's
mhm.
made like a grand piano. It's
I know that
beautiful,
one. Yeah,
beautiful piano. I think they cost about $10,000 or something or more.
yeah,
And he said, I said, Jared, it's an electric piano. You can't knock that out of tune playing it. He said, Oh, I think you did.
yeah. It's been interesting actually. I've been watching some, various YouTube videos of you performing. I guess the one that really kind of stood out for me because it surprised me a little bit, and it's a few years ago now. But you were performing with Van Morrison.
Yeah,
Who
there's a
was,
few live clips. There's one from
yeah,
Jules Holland's show, and then there's
yeah,
another live
that's
clip
right.
from Italy. There's one from Italy that's really good.
Yeah. And I'd never kind of crossed my mind that, you know, Linda Gale Lewis would be on the same stage with Van Morrison.
Well, he really wanted to do a project with my brother
Yeah.
and some recording with my brother, and he wasn't able to set that up. And then a couple of things happened. He had writer's block and wasn't really writing anymore. So he did the skiffle thing with Lonnie Donegan, and
Yeah.
then he needed to come up with some more songs and stuff. And some time went by, and when he couldn't get my brother to do a project with him, he saw me live on a live performance and decided that he would give it a try with me. So we did the album, and the album is called "You Win Again." And then after that, we were on the road together for about a year.
I really got the feeling that he loved singing those songs
He
because,
absolutely is. He was, and maybe still is, a huge Jerry Lee Lewis fan.
yeah.
So all the songs that we picked for the album, most of them were songs that my brother had done. Not all. There's a Johnny Kidd and the Pirates song that we did, and a couple others. But yeah, we did a lot of Jerry Lee Lewis songs. Let's Talk About Us. We did, and of course we did You Win Again. We did Crazy Arms, and we did Jambalaya, which my brother had done on one of his albums.
Okay.
So yeah, he wanted to do those particular songs, and he liked the album how it turned out, so he decided to release it. And then somewhere along the way, he got his writing abilities back and started writing great songs again.
There you go.
So that's the end of that.
And you are now the queen of rock and roll.
Well, now they're saying queen of rockabilly. I don't know. Right now, I'm the queen of this house. I've been working on my washing machine and trying to get everything going here. But yeah, it's nice to be called that. My husband started that really so many years ago.
Yeah.
He would say, "You're the queen of rock and roll," so he was the first one to say it.
I quite like that. I think that's a better description than the queen of rockabilly. I don't really see you as a out and out rockabilly musician. That's
Well, it's a marketing thing.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
have fans that come to see me that are like my age,
yeah,
and they think they have become um, brainwashed, I think, and they think that that kind of music is really rockabilly music. So they will say, I had one say to me the other day, she said, I just love rockabilly music. And she was at my gig, and she said, "Oh, I
yeah,
enjoyed the gig so much. I love rockabilly music." And of course, I'm playing rock and roll.
yeah. There you go. To me, it's rock and roll. There's a local band who I occasionally do sound for around where I live, and they're called the Memphis 69ers, and they started out actually really as a tribute band to Elvis, but they've now kind of brought in a whole bunch of other material. And
Oh, well, that's cool.
it is, and I wouldn't say they're the greatest band in the world, but they put an amazing amount of energy into their shows and they entertain people. And I love that.
I noticed that the first time I ever heard one of those psychobilly bands. I noticed how energetic they were, and I did enjoy them. I enjoyed hearing them. You just get caught up in it. It's really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, I agree. Let's go back to your piano playing. When did you actually first start hitting the ivories or
The very
tinkling
first
the
time,
ivories?
the very first time that I ever actually played anything on the piano, I was about 2 years old, and my brother taught me how to play the Tennessee Waltz on the
Oh,
black
lovely.
notes, and it excited him. And I don't remember much from when I was very, very young, but I do remember that. And I remember him grabbing me up in his arms and running into the kitchen where Mama was cooking and said, "I have taught Linda how to play the Tennessee Waltz on the piano." And I'll just never forget that. But that was the first time I ever played. And then I always kind of knew how to play the chords on the piano to whatever melody of whatever song I was singing, because I did need to rehearse at home songs that I was going to be doing on stage later with my brother. And this was back when I was a teenager. And of course, I could play the chords, and that was no problem. And then I didn't think ever so much about doing boogie woogie or rock and roll piano. But one day when we were in Germany,
Yeah,
and we had a piano back in my brother's dressing room. It was one of those places where they did concerts with concert pianists. So they
yeah.
had everybody had a piano in their dressing room, in the four biggest dressing rooms. So we're sitting in there, and I said, "Jerry, can you just kind of show me how to play boogie woogie and rock and roll on the piano?" He said, "Well, I've got this thing that I can show you, and I'll show you this, and you better make sure you remember it, because I'm not going to show it to you again, but I'll show it to you just this once." And we sat there at the piano, and he showed me this. I call it the Jerry Lee Lewis rock and roll invention, because I know Bach did inventions for his students.
He did.
And this is an invention in rock and roll boogie woogie piano, because my brother was a genius. And he told me, he said, "Linda, if you do this, you will have to do this. You have to start out slow with it, and then you pick up the tempo gradually. And if you learn this, then you'll be able to play rock and roll and boogie woogie on the piano." When I realized that someone else couldn't do that for me, I had to sit down and remember and praise God. I remembered that invention that he showed me, and I was able to play it. And it took a little while. I would say within about 2 months' time, I was sounding pretty good.
When you were kind of, kids together, I mean, did you play together at home or?
I am a huge Jerry Lee Lewis fan. And I wouldn't ever, even as a small child or teenager, ever have dreamed of thinking I should play the piano with my brother, because I mean,
Okay.
to me, he was absolutely the greatest. And I just loved standing by that piano and watching him play and listening to him sing. He had the most wonderful voice,
Well, yeah.
beautiful voice for country music, gospel music, and then of course a great rock and roll and blues artist as well. He did blues songs, but of course his rock and roll is out of this world. And I didn't even know it was rock and roll. We didn't know what it was. We didn't know anything about genre. We were just listening to music.
Let's get back to what you're up to these days. So, like new recordings, where's the next gig and all this kind of stuff.
Well, we've done all the recording that we need to do right this minute because our album just came out, and we spent about a year, I guess, working on it. Took about a year to get it all ready to go, and it's out now, and I'm promoting it as much as I can. And I really I love my new record label, Cleopatra. They're wonderful. This is my third album with them, and they do a wonderful job. I love the artwork, and I love it that they do vinyl and CDs and
Mm.
streaming. They do all of it. They make everything available, and I love that. And of course, as far as the gigs are concerned, I never have as many as I want, but I have as many as my kids and my husband will let me do right now because I was doing longer tours, and they decided that I shouldn't do that, that I should do gigs, but not like 25 in a row in Sweden, which is something that
Okay.
I absolutely had a blast doing. But
Yeah.
it kind of grueling in a way, but not to me because I love to play and sing so much. But physically, it was not so good for me.
So are we going to be seeing you back in Europe at any time soon?
Well, I was in France not too long ago and Estonia, oddly enough. I thought, wow,
Okay.
I've never had a gig in Estonia before, and I didn't know what in the world would that be like. And I have to tell you, it was one of my favorite gigs I've ever played anywhere. It was absolutely wonderful. But I want to come back to the UK. I was there last year at an Elvis festival.
Okay. Anyway, I'm going to have to bring this to a close because I have to sort of cut down these interviews to a manageable length to keep my boss happy.
I talk too much, Nigel.
No, that's what I do. I talk too much.
Between me and
But,
you, it's a lot of talking, isn't it?
but it's always great to sort of just talk to other musicians. For me, it's a privilege and it's a lot of fun.
It
And
really is. I appreciate so much the time I've been able to spend with you today.
well, we say thank you for taking the time to speak to us.
Well, thank you
So,
so much.
been a very special evening for me. Thank you very much again. And I
Thank
will
you, Nigel.
wave you a little goodbye.
Hope
And
I see you over there in Germany one of
well,
these days
exactly.
soon.
I've already got my fingers crossed that you're going to be coming over soon. Okay.
I'll call Klaus again pretty soon.
Yeah, do that. And if he's not cooperative, tell him I've got some friends I can send down to persuade him.
Thank you so much.
Okay, you take care.
You
Bye.
too, darling. Bye bye.